Home ownership is a great American dream. Today on Service Above Self, we'll talk to the people that can make that happen, realtors. Hi, and welcome to Service Above Self. I'm Clark Mason. Part of Rotary's vocational service is to teach people about different people's professions, what is involved with them, and what you might do to take up one of these type of professions. Today we're here to talk about the real estate world. Today with Carmela Brennan and Victoria Clark, both of Connecticut Commercial Realty and Select Homes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Victoria, how did you get involved with the real estate business?
I got involved kind of coincidentally, as probably a lot of people have. It's a family business. My dad started our company in 1990. And he and his business partner started it on the southern side of Connecticut, and we ended up opening a second office that I manage up in the north central part of Connecticut.
Very good. And you, Carmela?
Also a family business, because my late mother-in-law started the business back in 1954. And then when she passed in 1977, my husband and I took it over. And I didn't have a license at that time. I said I would help him because with my business background in school and everything. And so I kind of came into it sideways, and then I grew to be very interested, and I grew to love it. So I was in the business for 30 years before I joined Victoria's, because my husband and I closed our office after that many years, and we still wanted to continue, but we were dwindling down, and then I lost my husband subsequently, so it was the right move at the right time.
Now, I would imagine that when it comes to real estate transaction, with the exception of transactions that happen between family members, in most cases, the majority of transactions happen through realtors.
Yes.
So with that, this is a very important job for somebody to have, to actually organize these transactions, and to, sellers can get rid of their houses or businesses or whatever it happens to be, and people who might be interested be able to find out about these. Mm-hmm. So if I had the interest of becoming a realtor, what would I have to do to get started in that?
Well, first you need to make sure it's something you're going to enjoy doing. But once you decide to make that commitment to it, there's a lot of course preparation that you need to do. That's classroom work. And the primary course you take is called Principles and Practice. Practice and Principles. PMP, we call it. And in our state, in Connecticut, you have to have 60 hours. It varies from state to state. But once you have that coursework done, you can start to move forward with the steps that come after that. But the coursework is both focused at national standards, and there's a state-specific part of it as well.
So what types of things are included with that? What is it that you need to learn before you can start selling houses?
It's actually pretty in-depth. You need to learn a lot about contract law and about rules of agency and your fiduciary responsibilities to your clients and your customers. You learn a lot about different forms and paperwork that's required, and really your obligation and your responsibility once you become a licensed realtor.
So once you've done that, what would be the next step?
After you do the coursework, you need to get a license, which requires, filling out some applications and then taking some tests. And
these tests are administered by whom?
These tests in Connecticut, it's administered by the state. They hire a proctor, a separate agency that proctors the test, and hopefully you pass the test, and if you don't, you can take it again.
So this test is administered similar to something like an SAT, that type of a multiple choice type of a test,
yep.
Or is it
the way they do it now is it's all computerized.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go and you sit in a room and you take the computer test, and it tells you when you're done, if you passed or if you didn't pass. And it's broken into the two sections, so it's state specific, and then it goes on to the national standards, because there's a lot of overlap in terms of what's required on national levels, and then state specific, what the specific statutes are for each state.
So someone's coming to you looking for a job, and they've taken care of this basic part of it, and actually getting the license. What type of qualities do you look for in a potential salesperson, which is really what this is, as far as being able to do the job?
There's a lot of qualities, and it is sales, but I think Carmela would agree that it's a people business. It's a big business of organizing everything from soup to nuts with the transactions you talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think you'd like to look into what their background is, what experience they've had, where they've been before this, and see if they're involved in community efforts and everything. We're a full service business, and we like to have people who recognize all different things where they can help people. And yeah, so I look at personality, outgoing personality, and friendliness, and all the good things. Somebody that you would really want to get to know better. That's the type of person we'd like to have in our office.
Because I would tend to think that in the process of purchasing a home, you may end up having to spend a lot of time with the potential customers, and the last thing you need to have is the kind of personality to just grate somebody the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, you have to learn how to talk about a lot of different things that you don't even know about, like sports.
Exactly. Yeah. So what are some of the misconceptions that people have about getting into this business?
I think people think that it's easy and that it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's something you could do easily on the weekend or at night. And unfortunately, I think to be successful, or fortunately, if it's something you want to make a commitment to, it's something you really need to prepare to do full time. I feel that you need to take it seriously, you need to take yourself seriously, and you need to treat it like a business. Even if you're just an agent that only wants to work part-time, if you're not really doing the activities of the business regularly, it's hard to really stay active in it and to be successful. So I think a lot of people have that misconception that, I'll just do that on the side of my other job and I'll do it, it'll be easy. Because it's not always easy.
Absolutely, because there are a lot of people, especially in the present climate, who have other jobs and who think that they can make a killing on a weekend or something with real estate. It's not like that. We have to keep after it on a day-to-day basis.
And so what are some of these activities that you would do on a day-to-day basis to keep up with it, per se?
Well, certainly we would be following up with our clients, whether they be clients that we represent the selling of their homes or people that are trying to buy a home. Either way, you just want to keep in constant contact with them. When you learn different things about your properties or whatever, you just want to communicate, and that communication is very important. Constantly.
So if you had a client come in and they told you that they were looking for some kind of a house with certain qualities, a certain size, or in a certain neighborhood, it's potentially possible that you wouldn't have anything available that particular day.
That's right. So.
But you might be able to find something.
Yep. Yeah, some of the other activities that we do that would keep you exposed to those things would include staying in regular, staying on top of the listings that are coming through the systems that we all cooperate with. One of the other things that you're required to have if you're going to cooperate with the other realtors in the state is multiple listing membership. So it's important to stay active in what other agencies are listing. A lot of the brokers in our area tour each other's properties, so that can be a valuable tool both for the houses that you're marketing, but also for yourself if you're representing buyers, because you can stay really active with what's new on the market, and if it's something that somebody you're working with separately might find an interest in.
Right, because you could find two different positions that you might be in this transaction. I mean, you might represent the seller, you might represent a buyer, or you could represent both in some cases, but their interests may be all different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, now you're getting into the law of agency, which we didn't have when I began in this business. And yet you drive people around all day long and you develop a rapport with them, and then you might find a home for them that is listed by another agency, but you're not representing them. We had to be fair to all parties. always. Now, with a law of agency, at least we can say we're representing the seller or we're representing the buyer, and we sign a contract to that effect. Or we're doing, as you just said, a dual agency. So everybody knows, and there's certain things that we just cannot disclose to either one in that situation. Certain private things that we do have to hold back.
Depending, because you're the agent for someone.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that that's another, it's a good lead into some of the other skills that's really important is you need to be cognizant all the time of your responsibilities to your clients. And one of the biggest ones that is important to consider is the confidentiality agreement that you need to keep with your clients. So it's, there's a lot of responsibilities. So it's something that people need to take seriously when they want to get into it.
Now, this business has changed quite a bit, as many businesses have, because of technology, the internet.
Yeah.
So how has that affected what you do on a daily basis?
Well, I think it's good and bad. I think a lot of it's great because you just can get everything out there. It's everywhere. There's a lot of websites that we find that aren't always accurate, that may have taken their information from somewhere that we didn't authorize them to. It may be misleading. So it's important to educate your clients as to where they should be really looking when they're looking on the internet and what's accurate and what's not accurate. But I think overall, I think it has helped.
Faster.
Yeah, it's faster.
Yeah.
Carmela remembers the day before the internet.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, our office was one of the first ones that had a terminal. And I mean, it was big. It was like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but before that, we didn't have it, and everything was, we had to, if you had an offer on a property, you had to deliver it, hand deliver it, drive to another town and do that. Nowadays, you fax things, you can do things via email, and it's almost instant to get an answer.
And it's, I think, developed a whole new realm. There's new sections in all of our contracts now that allow people to accept electronic signatures and electronic contracts, and it's opened a whole new world. But I think overall it's been very good.
Yeah, I imagine that's a little bit different. I mean, certainly probably expedite some of the...
Oh, it does. It's,
some of the
it's
parts
wonderful
of it.
when you want to get it done fast.
Very good. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about a career in real estate and also what the current market is all about. So we'll see you in just a minute on Service Above Self.
Making the world a better place is an intricate puzzle. And piece by piece, the women and men of Rotary have worked hard to fight hunger, promote literacy, and move the world toward peace. But there is still much to be done, still some missing pieces. And one of those missing pieces is you. Learn how you can help Rotary put together a better world at Rotary.org. Rotary, humanity in motion.
In 1985, while polio was paralyzing 1,000 children a day, Rotary International committed to a goal of ending polio worldwide. Very soon now, after contributing nearly $600 million and immunizing over 2 billion children, the goal will be achieved. Eradicating polio worldwide. That is humanity in motion. That is Rotary.
Welcome back to Service Above Self. We're speaking with Victoria Clark and Carmela Brennan about real estate. It would occur to me that in the case of real estate, you know, it's not like, you know, even my business where I do automotive repair. You know, I'm able to see you 3 or 4 times a year. You know, how often, I mean, I wouldn't think that your clients repeat all that often. So what do you have to do to stay on the pulse of what's going on out there?
Well, they do repeat. It takes a while, but it's funny because you develop a very intense relationship where you're with somebody a couple times a week for, you know, several weeks, months sometimes, until you actually can see something through to the end of a closing of a transaction. And then maybe you get a Christmas card here and there, and see them at the grocery store, and that's about it for a while. But
Right.
I think that they say on average about 5 years used to be
Yeah,
the
it
norm.
used to be 5 or 7 years or so, and then you do have repeat. In fact, some of your best businesses, your repeats. So that's why you want to keep in touch.
Absolutely. I mean, it's nothing like the people that already like you that do a good job with you.
Yeah, and referral from past clients for new business is, I think, the best compliment anybody can give you.
So what other types of things do you do to keep yourself in front of potential clients?
There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of realtors out there, so you do what you can so that people can remember that you're there.
Your advertising,
Yeah, we
for
do.
one.
We do a lot of advertising, obviously, of the properties that we're marketing.
And
yeah.
website.
Yeah, we have our website.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Personally, I do a lot of things outside. I try to get involved in as many organizations as I can, not that many, but where I can really do some good. And so I feel that by doing this, doing some volunteer work, and I'm not a volunteer, but doing volunteer work for an organization, I get to meet other people, and it's very, very good because they remember the name. And whenever I have an opportunity, I'll drop a card or two. And it has been very successful for me through the years.
And so what type of organizations are the most successful for you?
I did a lot of work with the hospital, a local hospital. I do with the community college. And some of them don't bring me a direct thing. It's just getting my name out there. I do things with the chamber, our local chamber.
So chambers of commerce are very
Yes,
important.
right, yes. And what else do I do? I'm out
You've
there.
been involved
Oh, I'm
in
in a
Rotary?
women's club.
Yeah, I would tend to think that there's a lot of latency that may happen in what you do. I mean, you've got to plant that seed
Yeah.
years before.
And certainly in the Rotary. I'm not a Rotarian, but I do help them whenever I can.
Well, we thank you for that. Now, certainly right now in the real estate business, this is a pretty interesting time. In this case, I think it's probably shifted from, you know, a seller's market to a buyer's market with foreclosures and things of that nature. How does that change the face of what you have to do?
It changes it in a lot of ways. It changes it from a seller's perspective. You sometimes have to have some really difficult conversations with people about what their property is now worth in the current economic setting that we're in.
So in reality,
It's
things
a
may
big
have
reality
changed.
check, yeah.
The value may have actually gone down since
Yep.
when they purchased it.
Positive.
Yep, and sometimes you go on a listing appointment when you need to just say, it's probably not the time for you to sell. I think it's important to be honest with people about that. From a buyer's perspective, it really is a buyer's market right now. There's just incredible deals everywhere on properties that people couldn't have touched years ago. But the way they are now, it just allows, you know, home ownership to be accessible by so many other people. And coupled with that, we have low interest rates right now, which are just amazing.
Right, so there's been big adjustments in
Yeah.
the value of homes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're not costing what they did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So the same home may have decreased in value, and that's a
Yes.
good thing for
For a
someone
buyer.
trying to get into the market or
Yeah.
trying to upgrade.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Provided they have good credit, because it's very important to keep your credit good. Because the banks are getting tighter and looking, because we don't want to have a repeat of what we've gone through now. And so they are scrutinizing, and people must watch what they spend. If they want to buy a house, they really should be very careful about their expenditures.
You're hearing a lot of things, you know, in recent years about things like being upside down on your mortgage and short sales and things of that nature. What does that all mean?
Underwater.
Yeah, there's a lot of the underwater. It's, you know, it's created a whole new environment in the real estate world. There are a lot of short sales where people owe more on their homes than they can sell them for. So it becomes this really drawn out process where you need to negotiate for your buyer and with the seller, but you need a third party approval now. So it's the whole new market of trying to get approvals from banks and lenders and lien holders to release properties and to sell them for less than they thought that they were worth.
And for some cases, less
Yeah.
than what the mortgage holder
Yeah.
Yeah.
is owed.
Yeah, and it's
And the
tough for
mortgage
a lot of people.
The mortgage holder may not get all their money.
No, a lot of times they're not getting all their money. There's a lot of foreclosures. You know, you see these huge statistics all the time in the news, but really in our local market, I think that Connecticut has fared really pretty well. And I think we're pretty fortunate with that. And all of those short sales and foreclosures create a whole new environment too that you need to be aware of when you're representing buyers, when you want to look at sales and make sure that what you're using as comparable data was a arm's length transaction, as we call it. It wasn't a short sale. It wasn't something that was, you brought up in the beginning about a family member buying something. And so it's important to really stay in tune with what those sales are in your local markets.
Because that definitely could have an effect on the value of things.
Huge effect.
Yeah,
I mean,
price.
thousands and thousands of dollars. So, you know, certainly, you know, in the case of both buyers and sellers, you know, buyers don't want to spend more than what the thing should be worth, and sellers certainly don't want to get any less than they think they should sell it for.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so that's part of your job, is to find out what that is.
Yeah.
It's not an easy part either.
No,
No,
it's not.
it may not make people happy to find out
No.
what they thought they had is not what they have.
Yeah, it's created a difficult environment that way. But it's important to be on top of it and to just be, I think, really honest and realistic with people.
Now, there's a lot of different type of real estate companies out there. We certainly have seen some of the major franchises, the brand names that you might recognize, but there's also smaller type of real estate companies out there as well. What's the difference in like working for one rather than the other?
Yeah, well, then they are quite different. Our firm is a independent, family-owned firm, as was the firm that Carmela ran for so many years.
Right, yes. And corporate offices, as I tried to say before, I think that they're working more in numbers than in the quality of what they are providing. I mean, we feel very strongly about our service, and I think that a lot of the larger companies, the more people you have in, they don't have, either they don't have the training or they don't care, but they just, they want to get as many salespeople as possible because they figure each salesperson is going to generate at least one, if not more, and it'll blossom out. But I think that is why I wanted to stay with a family-owned business, for example, after my 30 years of having our own. I had the choice. I could have gone to a larger company, but I chose to stay with a smaller family-owned that had the same principles as we did have.
Do you think that there's advantages that some people might see in going to a
Yes.
Yeah, some people, I think,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
some people like to have a national branded name behind them. For some people, I think it's advantageous for them. They like that. It's what they want. There's different settings. There's some offices that are very large, like Carmela spoke about, that do have a very corporate feel. There's smaller offices. There's medium-sized offices. There's large commercial offices that are doing a whole different sort of work instead of just doing what people typically think of in terms of home sales. So there's a lot of different environments that you can find yourself in. But I think at the end of the day, no matter what the environment is, if you don't have those entrepreneurial sort of thoughts and spirits and things that move you to treat it like a real business, that you probably will have a difficult time being successful.
Right. Now, in your trade, it's important that you have dealings with other companies as well. As you mentioned before, you can do transactions where, say, your company represents a buyer and you found a home for somebody or a business or whatever it is that the transaction is going to be, and that people is listed by a seller who is dealing with another company.
Yeah, sure.
So you have to have relationships with other real estate companies as well to make those transactions happen. So
absolutely.
how do you do that? Trade organizations or something like that you learn how to meet all these people?
Yeah, well, we all, when you become licensed as a realtor, one of the organizations that you belong to is the National Association of Realtors, and also the Connecticut Association of Realtors. And then another step down is your local board. For us, we belong to a Greater Hartford Board of Realtors, but they're all throughout the state and they represent different geographical areas. And I think being really being in good relationships with the other realtors that are in the local market that you work with is really important.
And this is why you have to be a people person. You have to like people and know that they're coming from something else. They have different beliefs with their different ways of running their business. That's fine. But I think that I think we work pretty well together, so long as we're all looking for the same end, to be successful in a sale, for example. And I have never had any great problems with any of the other realtors. When you're a realtor, you're a special kind of person, you see. And because we're people persons, we manage well. Do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would tend to think that you'd have to be just
once in a while you'll have an obstacle, and that person, it's their problem, not ours. But I mean, we try, you try to do everything pleasantly. Look, we come in with an offer that maybe is a lot less than the house is on the market for, and the other agent looks at you as if you're crazy.
It happens.
And so, we're representing the buyer. So you try to be very nice and use a lot of nice flattering words and everything to see if they can get this through. Maybe there'll be a counter and we'll work together. And it does. It works in the end.
We only have about a minute left. Is there anything from your personal experience that you could say, this is the reason why I'm in this business? What is it that you find as satisfactory?
I would just say I have met so many wonderful people, and it has really made my life complete. I really love helping people, and when the day comes that I can no longer help people, I guess I'm through.
Yeah. Well, I would tend to think that dealing with you guys is certainly a wonderful thing, because you're step number one in transitioning a house to becoming home sweet home. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for coming on today and talking about us, the real estate business and how you become a realtor. So thank you very much. That's it for today, and thanks for stopping in with us. And for all of us here at Service Above Self, go out there and find a worthy cause and lend a helping hand.